Hello, this is Albatross, and today I'll be talking about cancel culture and its effect on modern society. We'll be discussing fairly controversial topics in this video, especially that of gender and sex and other controversial topics. You have been warned. According to Merriam-Webster, the word cancel culture derives from Twitter, more specifically, the black user base of such platform. The first time cancel culture was used en masse was during the Me Too movement, which was a movement in which many women came out and exposed famous celebrities and influential cultural figures, such as Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson, and many others. Meredith Clark, a professor at University of Virginia, puts it as, to a certain extent, I really do think of it like a breakup and a taking back of one's power. From the same article, the author Jonah Engel Brownich writes, in a subscription-heavy era where everything is on demand and celebrities are packaged and sold as commodities, the language of cancellation is close at hand. Humans being sold as commodities. Now, this is a very intriguing take. Did a neoliberal accidentally speak in a Marxist language? As Jonas said, celebrities are sold as commodities in this current era. However, are they the only ones being sold as commodities? I disagree. As Marx said in the Communist Manifesto, people's labor is sold as commodities to capitalists as well. This segues to my main point. If celebrities are considered commodities in fashion that of a cable subscription, then aren't the labor of the average proletariat, like us, also a commodity able to be cancelled at any moment in time? The answer is a yes, and Gillian Phillip has experienced such cancellation. 1. Proletariat cancellation. Joanne Rowling, better known as J.K. Rowling, a famous British author known for her Harry Potter series, made a controversial tweet on June 7th this year stating the following. If sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate, to speak the truth. There are more tweets, but the topic in which she talked about is not the center of this video. This not only caused a massive media buzz on this topic, but also reinforced the factionalism that existed between radical feminists and liberal feminists, as well as the fight between trans rights activists and gender critical. A hashtag arose from this controversy called I Stand with J.K. Rowling. This hashtag was spread in support of Joanne Rowling's view on gender and sex, and many users tweeted such hashtag. Gillian Phillip was one of these people, a children's author with a pen name of Erin Hunter. Due to a tweet, she was cancelled. Cancelled from Twitter, perhaps, but being cancelled from her job at publications company HarperCollins and working partners. Now that's a huge difference. Is she too high profile and she had it coming? Alright, then did Christian Webb, a school teacher, deserve to be fired from his job for making YouTube videos where he said some naughty words a few years back before he became a teacher? Did Brian Leach, a till worker at Asda, a British supermarket retailer, and a disabled man, deserve to be fired for sharing a video making fun of religion on his private Facebook account? No, these people did not deserve to be fired from their jobs. You cannot pride yourself as an anarchist or a socialist and actively work against the working class. The supposed left needs to stop its witch hunting against proletariats and getting them fired from their workplace. There was a time when being left-wing meant fighting for workers' rights, unionization, and higher pay. You cannot call yourself left-wing, yet use the same protocols as union busters and pro-at-will employment. This is absolutely unacceptable and disgusting behavior stemming from liberals. Do you understand? Cancellation does not affect capitalists or the ruling class, but only the poor and working class people who cannot defend themselves from people contacting their employers for having problematic thoughts. In fact, cancellation is no different from getting union organizers fired. It is union busting, but woke. Now, it is easy to shift the blame on the firing of Gillian Phillips on trans rights activists, as they did indeed notify her employers of her tweets. This is a nearsighted analysis, however, as it is ultimately Gillian Phillips' employers who decided to fire her. This brings up a question. Why was she fired? Because they are controlled by scary transgender authoritarians. Do not be ridiculous. It is because corporations are absolutely intolerant of any kind of controversy. The Atlantic rights. This mechanism is not, as it is sometimes presented, a long overdue settling of scores by underrepresented voices. It is a reflective jerk of the knee by the powerful, a demonstration of institutions' unwillingness to tolerate any controversy, whether those complaining are liberal or conservative. That is correct. HarperCollins does not care about trans rights or any social justice for that matter. They just want the problematic people to not be aligned with them at any cost. At-will employment and cancel culture enables this. In fact, police detective Florissa Fuentes, who reposted a picture of her niece in a Black Lives Matter protests, and she was fired from a job. This shows no one is safe from cancellation, no matter the political viewpoint one has. Liberals do not understand corporations aren't their friends. It does not matter if you disagree or agree with what someone is saying. Getting them fired as a punishment is absolutely unacceptable and only helping the rich terrorize workers in the same fashion as they do for everything else. I personally happen to disagree with Joanne Rowling, and more importantly, Gillian Phillips' view on sex and gender. However, it is unacceptable to have someone fired over such. It is called having principles, which is something that is a very rare trait nowadays. 2. Why cancel culture? Now that we have confirmed the act of canceling a person is not limited to celebrities and high-profile individuals, but also, if not more, common proletariats, why cancel culture? Who are these people who contact employers to get people such as Gillian Phillips fired? Although it is not completely clear who contacted Gillian Phillips' employers, we can see from a Twitter post a user by the name @Chronixium supposedly sending an email to HarperCollins regarding her tweets. By doing a bit more online stalking, @Chronixium or Alan seems to be a young lad posting fairly uncontroversial memes with the occasional all cops are bad posts and Black Lives Matter posts. In fact, this makes the situation all too hilarious. A man against policing in America is not only okay, but willing to support ideology policing in corporations. Allen and many like him who have contacted employers to get quote-unquote wrong thinkers fired do not care for any of the subjects that they act as if they care for. They are not the hashtag resistance by voting Democrat or Labour or any slightly left-wing party in their country, or wanting to end the oppression of the working class. No, they want to be the oppressors so they can oppress the working class themselves. This is a point I cannot emphasize enough, and I will continue doing so. Your superficial differences on gender, race, sex, whatever trivial matters are always was and always will be a secondary struggle we must overcome as a collective class once we can mobilize a united front of the working class individuals around the world to overthrow the global capitalists. Cancel culture is not progress, rather regressive and an active tyranny against the working class. What Allen did makes no sense even in a utilitarian perspective. If you want less gender critical, or as trans right activists like to call them, TERFs, making them lose their job is not doing you any favors. Maybe he entrapped himself so much in this Twitter bubble that he forgot the world exists outside this echo chamber. Do you think getting removed from her position at her workplace will change Gillian Phillips' view on gender and sex? Absolutely not. There is only one way to change one's mind on a subject, and that is called rational debate. That is correct. There is no other way than a civil discussion. And yes, a lot of them may engage with you in a dishonest or manipulative manner, but that seldom means engaging in debate is completely worthless. You aren't just convincing the person, you are convincing the crowd. All it takes is a single matchstick until the powder keg explodes. I know it sounds tedious, and it is unfortunate that we cannot just round up the bad people and send them to the gulags, but it is an essential step to further our message among liberals and others farther to the right of the economic spectrum. Also, reality check for socialists. If you truly want a socialist revolution or transition from capitalism, sitting in your echo chambers on Reddit or doing ideology policing is not helping your cause, but rather is just intelligentsia bragging. By now you are already accustomed to why cancellation of working class people is bad. Now let's talk about the main character of this cancellation incident, propped up by the media. How was Joanne Rowling affected by this? Searching her name up on Google and on the news tab shows all the anger from the liberal media, but in all, does this affect her at all? She's still rich, still hated by Christians for her magic books, still loved by fans around the world, and her legacy will never be tainted by such. And even if it does become tainted, she will still be in an economically affluent position where it does not matter. Who's going to get Joanne Rowling fired? No one. She is uncancelable. 3. Again, the proletariat. Capital bootlickers love to say the following: if the company fails, the owner becomes indebted and the workers can find new jobs. This obviously is not how it works. First off, the CEO is not the owner, the shareholders are. Will the shareholders lose arbitrary amounts of non-existent money due to the stocks failing? Sure. Will their lives be ruined by losing their job in this economy? No. It is always the proletariat that suffers. Every economic failure, every failed reform and war have the proletariat taken the majority of the burden. It is implied in the same fashion with cancel culture. Joanne Rowling, the woman who started this crusade to protect cisgendered women's spaces from transgender women, as well as other controversial subjects, is now talking about her new book that will provide her a guaranteed millions of dollars in her bank account. Dear Gender Critical, You have been abandoned by your leader, and now you're alone to withstand the punishment for doing such. Do you not understand it? I cannot emphasize this enough. The ruling class are not your allies to your petty identitarian movements that are both regressive and manufactured social warfare. I do not want to assume Joanne Rowling pushed this agenda with a sinister purpose to divide the working class, but it is ultimately what happened. The more we talk about useless pedantry such as gender and sex politics, it divides the proletariat, effectively allowing the ruling class to continue exploiting the working class. Any movements supported by billionaires and corporations are not actual movements for actualized social change, but a distraction to continuously divide the working class with their identitarian ideologies, diverting the attention of the proletariat to everything but class. Have you seen a single one of these ruling class activists fight for your rights? Have you seen Joanne Rowling fight for working women being oppressed by capitalists in sweatshops breaking their backs for your luxuries? These people are not your allies. We must mobilize the working class to fight for not a certain identity's liberation, but the entire class of oppressed workers. It is easy to blame a group for being silenced, no doubt about it. What happened to Gillian Phillip is intolerable, and the person who reported her to her employers is condemnable. However, we must move on from self-victimization and find a real solution to this problem. What allows cancel culture? Angry Twitter users? No. It is at-will employment and the capitalists willing to use such leverage to silence those who incite any case of possible loss in profit. Do you want free speech and rational discussion without the fear of being fired? Instead of trying to blackmail corporations and crying about it on Twitter, form unions and defend your rights. We proletariats are not victims, rather people who must organize and end the tyranny committed against the working class. This may sound class reductionist, and yes, it indeed is. That is because it is true. Every oppression can be traced back to your inherent class. Petty fighting for factionalism and semantics is not helping your class, but the ruling class to continue the toxic cycle of exploitation. Cancel culture is not something invented in the modern era or conceived due to the popularity of social media. It is simply a rebranding of what has always existed. Let us call it what it really is: the bourgeois attempt at dividing the working class to subvert class consciousness. Conclusion. I'll conclude my video with a reminder. Cancel culture, especially that affecting the working class, is nothing different from union busting and other subversive actions planned by the neoliberals. Anyone who stands against freedom of speech and thinks getting someone fired for committing wrongthing is not a socialist, but a wing of the neoliberal silencing mechanism. It's not accountability, it's called tyranny. Allowing such power for corporations to fire people for committing wrongthing is no different than smashing the windows of Jewish shops during the Kristallnacht and firing them from their workplace. They may not be coming for you now, but allowing such tyrannical power to the corporations and largely the government that is controlled by which, it will be so long until you are lined up facing your back to the wall. Do not repeat these mistakes. Thank you for watching, and I'll be doing a shameless plug-in from now on to ask you to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you wish to do so. Feedback is always welcome, as I'm still sorting out this whole YouTube thing, so if you have any questions or criticisms, leave them on the comment section. I'll see you on the next one.